and salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be doing the Romantasy Reader Book Tag. Hello, how are you? Hi, hello. How you doing? How you doing? How are you guys doing? Like, genuinely, I want to know how your day is doing. What are you guys reading right now? What are you loving? Let me know. I am actually really excited to be filming today's video because it is a book tag, and I love book tags. I love watching them. I love filming them. It just gives me like old school early 2000s YouTube, and I live for it. And I'm not gonna lie, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I spent the entire day in bed because I had a massive endometriosis flare-up. I unfortunately kind of like slept the day away a little bit because my body was on full shutdown mode, but I just woke up. I feel a little bit better and I have so much energy, so I want to film this video. I believe this was originally created by Jessica over at Peace Love Books. I feel like she's the one who created this tag. I'm pretty sure I'm right. If I'm not right, let's pretend that I am. I will go ahead and link her video as well as all of the questions of the tag down below. Jessica's video was fantastic. It had so many amazing romantasy book recommendations, so make sure to check it out. I'm fully ready for this video. I have my romantasy shirt on. Let me show you. It says Romantasy Reader. This is from Hello Lovely. I am pretty sure they still have this shirt available. If they do, I'll link it down below. The questions in front of me. I have my little drinky drink, and we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Actually, let me introduce myself. My name is Samantha. I predominantly read romances and cozy mysteries, but I absolutely love fantasy books. We'll be honest, I do typically read more epic fantasy or adventure fantasy, kind of like Brandon Sanderson or Jay Kristoff. I also love adventure, portal, fantasy type books, kind of like the Wayward Children series by Sean M. McGuire. So usually if I'm picking up and reading a fantasy book, it's usually epic fantasy. But with all that said, I am a romance reader at my core, in my heart, so I do love the romantasy genre as a whole. But don't get mad if I like sneak in some more like epic fantasy recommendations, because I feel like that's more what I'm familiar with. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop in. This intro is getting long, and let's answer some of these questions. The first question is a really fun one, and that is, what was your gateway romantasy book? I love this question because it brings back the nostalgia. I've always been a reader. I have vivid memories of reading books as far back as like the 2nd grade, and a lot of my fondest childhood memories comes with reading because I used to have a lot of friends that also like to read. We would try to read series like at the same time, and I would like buy the first book, my friend would buy the 2nd book, my other friend would buy the 3rd book, and we would just share and pass books around in class, and it was just like so much fun. So I have a lot of fond memories of reading, especially in junior high and high school. In junior high and high school, I was reading so much paranormal romances. Someone needs to make a paranormal romance book tag because I would eat that up. Like the House of Night series and Twilight and that kind of era. I grew up in an era of some amazing books. My introduction to fantasy romance in particular, I want to say has to be the Fallen series by, what was the author? Lauren Kate, I think her name is. By the way, I do have a lot of these physical books, but my shelves are a little bit of a mess right now. And because I wasn't feeling that well physically, I didn't want to like dig through them because some of them are in the closet. So I'm just gonna put the books here. Hopefully you don't mind. Yeah, the Fallen series by Lauren Kate. I remember reading every single one of those books and eating it up. I loved it. Kind of like gave dark academia vibes with fallen angels, and this was like one of the first books where I vividly remember there being a love triangle. I do remember reading the entire series. All my friends loved this series. It was just so good. And then I also remember reading Cassandra Clare. The Shadowhunter series was a series that was very popular when I was in junior high heading into high school. To be completely honest, I wasn't a fan of like the main romance in that book, but I definitely read it for Magnus and Alec. Like, I loved those two so much. And also, funnily enough, is I do feel like this series was also my introduction to booktube. The first booktuber I can really remember watching is Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, and I think her title is inspired by like the Cassandra Clare series, A Clockwork Angel. And during that era of booktube, a lot of YA fantasy and romantasy books were becoming really popular, like The Night Circus or Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thompson, Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. It was a whole vibe, a whole era, if you will. That was a lot of books to explain my introduction to Romantasy, but yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of all of those books. The next question is, what is the longest Romantasy series that you've read? Here's the thing. Can we please normalize fantasy standalones? Fantasy standalones. Duologies even. I'll take duologies. Why do we need fantasy books that are 5, 6, 10 books in a series? Okay? I'm a mood reader. I get distracted very easily. I need us to group together, sign a petition that we need more standalone fantasy books. Like, not everything has to be a series, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not read a ton of Romantasy series because I get distracted real easy, and there's always new releases happening. I've stuck with a lot of epic fantasy series. Right now I'm making my way through The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson, which is like 20 plus books. It's insane. But for Romantasy series that I've read, the longest one, I really do think it's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I didn't read the series when it was super popular in like junior high school. I read it as an adult with my friend Rachel over at Rachel Reads and Sings. She hosted like a whole readathon that I was a part of, and it was so much fun. And I actually really like this series. I know this series is really popular, but I think it's popular for a good reason. It's like an enemies to lovers series set in the Fae realm, and there's a couple books in this series, if I'm not mistaken. I have them all. So we have The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, The Queen of Nothing, How the King of Elflam Learned to Hate Stories, and The Stolen Heir. So that's 5 books. And I'm going to just count that as my longest series. Next question is, what is an underrated Romantasy more people need to read? So many. There's so many indie Romantasy authors or fantasy books that are available on Kindle Unlimited that I feel like don't get enough hype because they're not traditionally published. More specifically, what I think is super underrated is sapphic fantasy books. Now, if you watch my channel, you guys would know I absolutely adore sapphic books. They're some of my favorite books to read and talk about here on my channel. And I feel like in general, sapphic books tend to be incredibly underrated, and there are so many good fantasy ones that I wish people would pick up. Off the top of my head, an author that is available on Kindle Unlimited, writes a lot of sapphic, more slow burn Romantasy books, is S.D. Simper. We do have a couple of books, but the one that comes to the top of my mind is The Fate of Stars, and this one is a mermaid Romantasy book. This one is an enemies to lovers slow burn romance between a mermaid and a princess. Our heroine Talora, don't roast me, okay? Fantasy names are hard. Fantasy names are so hard. She is a mermaid. She finds herself lost at sea, and she goes to help a boat that she thinks is in danger and in peril, and she ends up getting kidnapped. Yeah, she ends up getting kidnapped. Our heroine is a princess who ends up capturing this mermaid in hopes to garner her mother's approval. It is an enemies to lovers romance. They come from completely different worlds and backgrounds, but it's not particularly dark, and it is very slow burn. I will say that S.D. Simper books are not like traditional Romantasy books. They're very, very slow burn, but I love it. So if you're looking for a sapphic mermaid book, this one is for you. Then another sapphic fantasy book that I think did get a little bit of hype when it first released because the cover is absolutely gorgeous, but I still feel like enough people don't talk about it, and it's Between Mischief and Magic by Marissa Serraro. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. This is a cozy sapphic romance, which you guys will see a lot of cozy fantasy recommendations in this video because I love cozy fantasy books. They're some of my favorites. But this is a romance between a demon and a princess. This one starts off by following our heroine, who is a princess who has just recently lost her magic. Ends up meeting our other heroine at a bar. Our other heroine is a succubus demon, and the two of them end up going on this quest together to find the princess's lost magic. Absolutely love this one. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. The second book in this series is actually another mermaid sapphic romance. So if you want more sapphic mermaid goodness, check that one out. Again, sapphic books in general, I feel like are criminally underrated, and I just need more people to appreciate them. Next question is, what is the longest Romantasy book you've read? Now, I really had to think about this one, okay? Because if I'm thinking of like epic fantasy, I've read a lot of big, large, chunky books, okay? Like Mr. Brandon Sanderson, Way of Kings, that's a large ass book, but it's not Romantasy. And then I was thinking, like, are we counting fan fiction? Because fan fiction tends to be really long. Like, I'm thinking of Remain Nameless by Hey Jude 19. This is a fan fiction set in the Harry Potter universe. It's a Hermione fan fiction, so Hermione and Draco technically there's magic and a romance. So it could be romantasy. Maybe, possibly. This is a long fan fiction. It's over 1,000 pages. I think it's even longer than Manacled, if I'm not mistaken. It is one of my favorite fan fictions of all time. This fan fiction takes place 10 years after the Battle of Hogwarts. In this book, Draco is in his healing era. He is really trying to find what makes him happy and healing after all of the trauma that happened after the Battle of Hogwarts. And he ends up seeing Hermione again 10 years later at a Muggle coffee shop. The two of them end up striking this very unlikely friendship that leads into a romance. This is a very, very cozy fan fiction. A lot of it is like them meeting at this coffee shop and just healing together, and I love it. I love it so much. Don't know if this really counts for romantasy, but like, I'm counting it. If that didn't count, another long romantasy book that I absolutely adored was Anastasia by Sophie Lark. This one is almost 700 pages. It's ginormous. This is obviously a Anastasia retelling, but make it fantasy. This is an enemies to lovers romance between our heroine Anastasia, who is a princess, and our hero Damien, who is a prisoner. He was essentially taken from his family as punishment because his father was the leader of a rebel army, so he was taken to serve the royal kingdom, and the two of them end up developing this enemies to lovers romance. The magic system in this book is wicked cool. The royal family has really cemented their place in society because of the magic that they have. Very different from what Sophie Lark usually writes, because she either writes dark mafia romances or contemporary romances, so this one is very, very different from her usual writing style. A lot of people didn't like this book as much as I did, but I feel like that's because they were very used to what Sophie Lark usually writes, and since this was so different, people didn't like it, but I loved it. So it is a long book. It's almost 700 pages. It's pretty slow burn. There you go. Next question is, what is a romantasy book that is worth the hype? I would say definitely Legends and Lattes, okay? Again, I love cozy fantasy books. They're such a vibe. Maybe it's because I love cozy mysteries and like Hallmark movies that when I read cozy fantasy, it gives me like those same warm, fuzzy feelings. It's the type of vibe where you just want to like stay in bed all day. It's raining, you have a nice hot cup of cocoa, and you're just vibing. And I think Legends and Lattes is absolutely worth the hype. I love the audiobook. I love the series. I think it's fantastic. And I really do feel like it kind of started a wave or a trend of more cozy fantasies, and I love it. Like, just so happy that it did that. Another one is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Really, really popular when it first came out. I saw it in so many people's like favorites books of the year. Romantasy has really gotten very, very popular, and there's been a lot of new releases, so I feel like I haven't heard people talk about it as much, but when it first released, it was very, very popular. And this is a pretty unique book because it's YA, it's romantasy, but it's also historical romance because it's set in a Regency time frame. If you like historical romances, you will absolutely love this book. It follows our heroine who, as a young child, she was cursed by the Fae. Her mother was not that great and literally made a deal to sell her firstborn to the Fae realm. So when our heroine is younger, someone comes to collect that deal, and she is about to be kidnapped to be taken to the Fae realm, and her cousin end up fighting back. However, she is not left unscathed. In fact, she is left cursed, where her soul is quite literally torn in half. Half a soul, hence the title. One part of her soul is left in the human realm, another part of her soul is in the Fae realm. The part that was taken from her is her emotions and her ability to feel literally anything. So she only has like that more logical side of her brain, so she goes through life not really feeling love or empathy or even happiness. And as she gets a little bit older, her cousin wants to help her break this curse, so they end up convincing their family to take them to Regency London. They want to go to London and be a part of the ton, not to find a husband, but because they want to find the magician of the royal kingdom, because they feel like he is able to break that curse. And that is how our heroine ends up meeting our hero. He is a magician, and they end up having a slow burn romance. This is YA, but the romance is definitely there, and honestly, I didn't really realize it was YA until like the end. So if you're looking for something a little bit more slow burn, I definitely think you would like this one. It's also just a really cool book if you like historical romances, because you get all of the Regency London tropes with like balls and scandals and arranged marriages, but you also get the magic. So it's a very cool, interesting blend, and I really did love the audiobook as well. Again, very popular when it first came out, but I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it since. In general, I feel like YA romantasy isn't as popular as it once was, and it makes sense because all of the YA romantasy readers are now adults reading adult romantasy. Next question is, what romantasy has your favorite romance? So I love slow burn friends to lovers romances in fantasy books because I feel like it gives time for the magic system to develop as well as the romance, and it just feels more seamless. I know a lot of people disagree and they like enemies to lovers, but unpopular opinion, I love a slow burn friends to lovers romance. First is A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. This is a male-male friends to lovers romance with a lot of political intrigue. Starts off by following our first hero, who is a part of the royal family in his kingdom, but he's like the 4th or 5th son, so he never really expects to inherit, doesn't spend a lot of time with his family because he is hiding the fact that he is gay. He knows that his family is not accepting whatsoever, so he really doesn't try to spend time with them, but his father ends up calling him back to their kingdom and informing him that he's going to be put in an arranged marriage to garner alliances between the kingdoms. Our hero is absolutely freaking out because he is supposed to marry a woman and he's gay, so he doesn't know what he's going to do. Things quickly take a turn though when his father actually catches him in a compromising position with another man, and once the other kingdom realizes that he is gay, they end up switching the arranged marriage so that he is marrying a prince from their kingdom. Our hero really has no choice but to go through this arranged marriage and this alliance because he is banished from his kingdom. His father disowns him after finding out that he's gay. Deal with like some darker themes in the beginning. So our hero ends up traveling to this new kingdom all alone for this arranged marriage, and as he is traveling there is an assassination attempt. Someone tries to kill him and they say that they're doing it under the name of his betrothed. Now our other hero is absolutely not trying to kill the man that he's supposed to marry. There is a lot of unrest between the kingdoms. A lot of people do not want them to have alliance or peace and do not want this marriage to go well, so they're trying to like sabotage it. So our two heroes have to work together to figure out who is trying to frame them, who is trying to break the peace between their kingdoms. Like I said, a lot of political intrigue. This is a fantasy romance though because there is a magic system throughout the entire series. So yeah, I absolutely love this one, and it has one of my favorite romances ever because it is just so sweet. It is the cutest slow burn friends lovers romance. The way our two characters fall for each other just felt so natural and sweepingly romantic, and it's like the type of romance that I just like swoon over. And then another romance that I adore, like adore to pieces, is Radiance by Grace Draven. This is another friends lovers romance. Has a very similar plot. Our two characters are from rival kingdoms and they are both a part of their royal families. They're like the 2nd or 3rd in line, so they never expect to inherit. Their entire life they have known that their sole purpose is to get into a political marriage to garner peace between the kingdoms. And it's really funny in the beginning of this book because they come from completely different kingdoms in every way. Physically, they look very different. The food that they eat, the culture, everything is so different to the point that like they don't even find each other attractive in the beginning. So it's like true friends to lovers where they have to just like make the best of this political marriage that they're put in. And I love it. I love it so much. Our hero in this book is so sweet, and I just love the way he falls for our heroine and kind of like introduces her to his culture and his kingdom, and it's just beautiful. I love this book, and again, this is another one that was very popular when it first came out, and I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it since. Sometimes with like new releases, a lot of really good romantasy books that were really popular just get like buried, and I'm like, don't forget about this one. This one is really good, especially if you're new to romantasy and you haven't checked out Radiance by Grace Draven. Please do so. Next question is, what is your favorite cover of a romantasy book? So for this, I did actually grab the physical copies so you can see. I'm not going to talk about any special editions. These are all like the original covers. So the first one is pretty simple, and that's Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is a sapphic cozy fantasy book, and I just think everything about this book looks so cozy and pretty. What I really love about this book is it has a step back and it has our two heroines right there, just like an illustrated cover, and I just think that's so pretty. I love step backs, and I wish we had more of them that aren't just historical romances. So yeah, absolutely love that one. I think it's so gorgeous. And I have a couple more right here to talk about. So what I really love about the rise of romantasy books is I feel like publishers are doing sprayed edges just regularly. Like, these aren't even special editions. I think sprayed edges are gorgeous. They look stunning on bookshelves, and I wish all publishers would do them. I know it's expensive, but I just love it so much. And I also love that I could literally just go to the bookstore and pick these up and not have to pay a lot for a special edition cover. These are all romantasy books that have released within the past year or two, and they had stunning sprayed edges. I haven't read all of these, by the way. I just think the covers are super pretty, so some of these were cover buys. The first one is Sanctuary of the Shadow by Aurora Asher. It kind of gives like Night Circus vibes, but love the sprayed edges. And then the actual hardcover also has beautiful embossing on it as, has beautiful embossing on it as well. If you open the book, the pages are stunning. So like everything about this is really, really pretty. Another one is Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf. Guys, look at the detail on those sprayed edges. Stunning. Like, absolutely love that. Another one is Five Broken Blades by Maya Corland. And I know the rest of the books in this series also have really pretty sprayed edges too. This one I got at Waterstones, which is a UK bookstore, but I think the American version also has sprayed edges. And this is Blood of Hercules, which is a really popular romantasy book right now. Love sprayed edges. Just, I'm really easy to please, okay? Give me some sprayed edges. They don't even have to have designs on them. Like, I even like the ones that are just colors. Like, I love it. The next question is, what is your all-time favorite romantasy? That is such a difficult question. Oh my goodness, there's so many. I really love Cursed Cocktails by S.L. Rowland. That is a male cozy fantasy book. If you like cozy fantasy books like Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne, or Legends and Lattes, or even A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic, like those type of cozy fantasy books, then you will love Cursed Cocktails. So this one starts off by following our hero, who for many years was a warrior for the kingdom's military. He has a very unique magic. It's kind of like blood magic, where he could literally stop someone's heart from beating. Very powerful, and he has served in the military for a long time, protecting the kingdom, because there are all of these monsters that kind of like lurk around each kingdom. Doing his magic causes him a lot of pain, and he is now retiring because he has so much chronic pain. Now that he's retired, he's trying to find a new life for himself, and his dream has always been to open up his own brewery, a place where he can serve custom cocktails. Both of his parents passed away when he was really young, and the only keepsake that he has from them is his father's journal. And in this journal, his father would write different recipes and drink combinations. So he really wants to open up this bar in his father's memory. He ends up moving to a new town to do that, and that is where he meets our other hero, who is a local bartender, and the two of them end up opening this shop together. It is very slow burn, friends, lovers, romance. Like I said, that's like one of my favorite tropes ever. This book is so delightful, and it's the type of book, again, that you just want to like be in your bed with a fun, cozy drink, raining, the vibes, low light, a nice candle, just vibe. It's a cozy fantasy. It's not an epic fantasy, so the magic system isn't really that complex, but there's something about the writing style that makes me so happy. And the reason I'm putting it as one of my favorites is because I constantly think about this book, recommend this book, and want to reread this book. And that is how I know it's favorite. All right, this next answer might be a little controversial, because people do not consider this author a romantasy author, and he's not. He writes epic fantasy, but listen when I tell you, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson, that's a romantasy book. That is a romantasy book right there. Arguably, that is Brandon Sanderson's most romantic book that he's ever written. The romance storyline is heavy throughout the entire book. So Yumi and the Nightmare Painter follows our two characters who essentially are from completely different worlds. Heroine Yumi is what they call a yokihijo, and her entire life is in servitude for her kingdom. There's a very unique gift where she can call upon spirits and ask different things of them and grant wishes. She's able to request things from these spirits for the people in her kingdom. It is a very noble profession. However, it is also very lonely, because her entire life is dedicated to just serving the people around her. Things end up kind of like taking a twist when she ends up summoning a spirit, and the spirit begs her for help. She doesn't really know what this spirit is asking her, but all of a sudden she's thrusted into what seemingly seems like a completely different universe and planet. This is kind of like a Freaky Friday situation where two characters are put into each other's universe and they have to learn how to help each other. He ends up getting transported to somewhere else, and that is where she meets our hero, the painter. He is an artist and he lives in a world that is covered by shadows and is constantly being attacked by these nightmare-like creatures, and the only way to stop them is kind of like trapping them in a painting. So our hero's profession is a painter, where he traps these nightmares into his drawings, and it's kind of like a Freaky Friday situation where two characters are put into each other's universe and they have to work together to figure out why the spirit needs help from them. It is so wonderful. I feel like I am not doing it justice by describing the magic system because it's so incredibly unique. So many like hidden messages in this book as well. It has an underlined message and discussion of art in general. The art in this book, the chapter art, stunning. Kind of has a very relevant discussion of AI and how it could be unethical and it can't really capture the true beauty and passion that a real artist can. This is a romance. There's absolutely no way that you can convince me it's not. It's not a spicy romance, but the romance subplot is absolutely there. So even if we weren't counting this as romantasy, this fantasy book is just one of my favorite books of all time. And I feel like a lot of people, when they think of Brandon Sanderson, they think of like his epic worlds like Way of Kings and Mistborn and Warbreaker, and it can feel intimidating because you don't know where to start. You Mean the Nightmare Painter can be read as a standalone. It's one of his secret projects, and I read it without really knowing much about the Cosmere, and I had such a wonderful time. So if you are intimidated by Brandon Sanderson and his Cosmere universe, just give this book a try. Please, please, please give this book a try. And I feel like it's a perfect like segue for romantasy readers to get more into epic fantasies. Although epic fantasy can still be romantasy. Anyways, moving on. I love this book and I'm kind of sneakily throwing it in there. Next question is, who is your favorite all-time favorite... What? Let's try that again. Next question is, who is your all-time favorite romantasy reader? This is another one where I'm kind of like bending the rules a little bit because I want to say Tessa Hale. But some would argue that her books are technically paranormal. And some of her books are, like her werewolf shifter books and things like that. But I'm considering her books fantasy. Yes, I am. Tessa Hale writes both fantasy and paranormal romances, in my opinion. And I eat her books up like candy. Okay, I read nearly her entire backlist. They're so much fun. She has a lot of different series. She has a series with werewolf shifters. She has a series with elemental magic. The one that I'm holding right here is the Dragons of Ember Hollow series, and this is a dragon shifter fantasy romance. She writes predominantly why choose reverse harem romances, and if you guys know anything about me, you know I love a good why choose romance. Okay, I love a good poly romance. Her books are more reverse harem than they are poly, but they're so good. She has a formula to her writing that I really enjoy. They're fast-paced, they're interesting. The romance is absolutely the main focus of the plot, but I think her magic systems are also really cool. I would recommend any of her series. The one I'm holding right now is her trilogy. It's the Dragon of Ember Hollow series. It follows our heroine Hayden, who at a young age, her parents passed away, and she's been bouncing through like different foster homes and really feeling alone in her life. So she wants to start a new chapter in her life, and she is studying to be a doctor. So she goes to a new college and she really wants to focus on her studies. But when she gets there, she ends up meeting our heroes and has quite a few connections with different guys on campus. It turns out not only is she their fated mate, but these heroes are also dragon shifters. Yeah, and our heroine is a dragon shifter, and female dragon shifters in this universe are very, very rare, so she is being hunted down, and our heroes need to protect her, and I love it. Absolutely love it. The books do have to be read in order because each book has a cliffhanger, but they're very fast-paced, and Tessa Hale writes her books very fast as well. Don't have to worry about any cliffhangers and then needing to like wait for the next book. It's a completed series, and I love it. I eat her books up like candy. Next question is, what is the last romantasy book that you read? I've been reading a lot of paranormal. Then also like epic fantasies. Like right now I am finishing the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, those are the last couple books that I've read recently. Next question is, what are the top 3 romantasy books on your TBR? Okay, so many. Oh my god, so freaking many. What I tend to gravitate towards when I read books in general is books that have queer and LGBTQ representation. So that is most of the books that I have on my TBR. I have way more than 3. I have 3 sapphic books and 2 male romantasy books that I'm going to talk about really quick. The first sapphic book I want to read is The Final Strife. I think this cover is absolutely stunning, and I've heard nothing but good things about this book. Another one that is absolutely beloved, like so many people love this trilogy. First book is called The Jasmine Throne. It is the Burning Kingdoms series. This book is inspired by Indian culture. It says it follows a captive princess and a maidservant in possession of forbidden magic. They become unlikely allies on a dark journey to save the empire from the princess's traitor brother. So many people love this series, and I need to read it. I need to read it. Then I also really want to read Lucy Undying by Kirsten White. This one is a sapphic vampire fantasy book inspired by like Dracula and Carmilla. Carmilla is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, absolutely love it, and it's such an icon in queer literature. I love sapphic romances, I love vampire romances, and the fact that this book is those 2 combined, sign me up. And the last 2 I have in my TBR are male romances. The first one is called Potions and Pints by S.R. Meadows, and this one is a cozy male fantasy romance. And then I also really want to read Dark Rise. Now I know this author is like super popular for her other fantasy male series. So many people have been talking about this book. I saw it in like people's like absolute favorite books of 2024. People were saying like it's their favorite fantasy book ever. And I'm intrigued. I'm absolutely intrigued. I don't really know much about it other than it's a male fantasy romance that everybody and their mama has been loving. So like, I need to see what's going on. And the last question is, who are your favorite romantasy content creators? And I mean, I have so many that I love, but I feel like I just have to mention my girls. Jessica from Peaceful Books created this tag, and she reads a lot of romantasy books, a lot of really popular romantasy books, and I feel like she's definitely a channel that I'm watching to like stay updated on like what's new and what's popular, and I love her reading vlogs. Tori from Novel Life also reads a lot of romantasy. Their reading tastes are very similar, and again, I love her reading vlogs too. So yeah, if you want some awesome romantasy recommendations, I highly recommend Jess and Tori. That is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this tag, and I hope you do this tag. I would love to see more people do it because there's so many fun questions, and I need more romantasy recommendations. So if you stayed this long and you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me an emoji. Leave me a dragon emoji. Leave the dragon emoji and your favorite romantasy book so I know that we're bookish besties and you stayed this long at the end of the video. That's it. As always, thank you guys for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!